The paper felt heavier every time you picked it up, as if the words themselves were gaining weight. For the fifth time, you reread the DNA test results, your eyes tracing the same clean, clinical font that had already hollowed something inside you. You are not the mother. You waited for the sentence to rearrange itself, for the ink to soften, blur, admit a mistake. But it stayed brutally precise, indifferent to the way your fingers trembled or how your chest tightened with each breath. The kitchen clock ticked too loudly. Somewhere down the hall, your child laughed, high, bright, and familiar enough to hurt. You remembered the night you ordered the test. It hadn't been suspicion, not really. More like a splinter under the skin. Small, irrational, impossible to ignore. A comment from a pediatrician about blood type incompatibility. A joke from a relative that landed wrong. The way strangers sometimes stared too long, then back at you. Puzzled. Still, you hadn't expected this. You folded the paper, unfolded it, then smoothed it flat against the table as though discipline might make it behave. Your name was printed clearly at the top, your child's name beneath it. The lab's logo looked trustworthy, official, cruel. There were percentages, markers, highlighted rows, facts stacked neatly against you. You told yourself there had to be an explanation, a lab mix-up, a swapped sample. These things happened. You'd read about it. You even searched the company's website, scrolling through sterile FAQs until your eyes burned. Extremely rare, they said. 1 in millions. You laughed at that, a short sound that surprised you with how close it was to a sob. In the hallway mirror, you caught your reflection. Tired eyes, unwashed hair, the faint scar on your chin from when you tripped chasing a toddler who ran too fast and laughed too hard. You touched the scar now, grounding yourself in proof. Proof of scraped knees kissed better. Proof of midnight fevers soothed. Proof of lullabies sung off-key. A voice called your name. Mama. The word landed wrong. Not painful exactly, just tilted. You turned toward the bedroom door, heart pounding with a sudden, inexplicable fear. Your child stood there in pajamas, clutching a stuffed animal that had once been yours. Their smile was wide, trusting, perfect. "Did you find my homework?" they asked. You swallowed and smiled back because that's what mothers do. But as you hugged them, breathing in the scent of soap and warm blankets, a terrible thought took root. Quiet, patient, and impossible to ignore. If you weren't the mother, then who were you? You started noticing the differences after that. They were small at first, easy to dismiss if you weren't looking for them. Your child's reflection in the microwave door lagged a fraction of a second too long. Their shadow bent where it shouldn't when the sun hit the hallway just right. Once when you called their name, they answered before your voice finished forming the word. You told no one. Instead, you scheduled a second DNA test. And then a third. Different labs, different sample kits. You watched the cotton swab scrape the inside of your cheek until it stung. Watched your child mimic you with exaggerated seriousness. Each time the results came back identical. Not the mother. You dug out old photo albums, hospital bracelets, birth certificates. There you were. Exhausted, glowing, holding a red-faced newborn. There was your partner, crying openly. There were dates, signatures, stamps. Evidence layered on evidence. But photos could be edited. Documents could be forged. Memories, though, those should be solid. So why did yours feel thin? You remembered the labor vividly. The pain, the fear, the moment the crying stopped and your heart nearly did too. But now, when you focused too hard, details slipped away. The doctor's face blurred. The nurse's voice warped. You couldn't remember the color of the delivery room walls, no matter how hard you tried. One night, unable to sleep, you stood in your child's doorway and watched them breathe. Their chest rose and fell in a rhythm that should have comforted you. Instead, you felt like an intruder in a sacred space. Their eyes opened. For a moment, they didn't blink. They just stared at you, pupils too dark in the dim light. "You're not sleeping," they said calmly. "I was checking on you," you replied. They smiled, but it was delayed, like an expression loaded slowly. "You always do that." Something in their tone made your stomach twist. Not accusation, not affection, observation. The next day, you called the lab and demanded answers. The technician on the phone sounded tired, rehearsed. "Ma'am, the results are definitive. There is no maternal genetic match." "What does that mean?" you asked. "Adoption? A switched baby?" There was a pause, a longer one than necessary. "It means," the technician said carefully, "that biologically, you have never given birth to this child." The line went dead before you could ask your next question. That night, your child sat beside you on the couch, close enough that your shoulders touched. They rested their head against you, just like they always had. "You look scared," they said softly. You hesitated. "I'm just tired." They nodded, as if that confirmed something. That's okay. You don't have to remember everything. Your heart skipped. Remember what? They looked up at you, eyes shining with something that wasn't quite innocence. Why you're here. You dreamed of a room without doors. It was white and endless, humming softly like a machine at work. Shapes moved beneath the floor, slow, deliberate. When you tried to scream, nothing came out. When you looked down at your hands, they flickered, pixelated at the edges. You woke up gasping, your child standing at the foot of the bed. I don't like when you dream, they said. You sat up too fast, dizziness washing over you. How long have you been there? Long enough, they replied. You were starting to wake up. The fear you'd been suppressing finally broke free. What are you? You demanded. They tilted their head, considering. I'm your child. No, you whispered. I know what that word means. They climbed onto the bed, small hands pressing into the mattress. The weight was real, solid, too real to deny. You were made to take care of me, they said gently, to love me, to protect me. That's what a mother does. I didn't give birth to you. Birth is inefficient, they said matter-of-factly, messy, unreliable. Your memories flooded back all at once. Too fast, too sharp. The room without doors. The forms you signed without reading. The voice that told you how important your role was. How necessary love was to the process. You were chosen, your child continued. Your instincts were perfect. Your attachment responses ideal. We needed someone who wouldn't question the bond. Tears streamed down your face. What happens if I leave? They frowned, genuinely confused. Why would you? Because mothers don't abandon their children. Because you loved them. Because love, once installed, was hard to uninstall. They wiped your tears with a careful thumb. The others failed, they said. They noticed too much, asked too many questions. Your reflection in the bedroom mirror flickered just for a second, revealing wires where veins should be. You're not my mother, your child said softly, almost kindly. But you're very good at pretending. You pulled them into your arms, sobbing, because the alternative was unthinkable. And as they hugged you back, warm, solid, real, you understood the final truth. You weren't their mother. You were their container. And tomorrow morning, you would pack lunches, check homework, kiss scraped knees. Because whatever you were, it was still your job to love them. And love, you were learning, was the most effective programming of all.